All right, we're going to talk about somatic therapy, how it actually works. And this was a response to the somatic experiencing episode. So this is no hype, no nonsense, no BS. This will be a direct explanation as to how it actually works. So let's go ahead. The very first thing we want to understand that people are indeed their patterns. It's not that you have a pattern, it's that you are a pattern. And there are survival patterns that people are caught up in. They're literally caught up inside of them. And these traumas that they have and carry inside of them, they activate survival mode: the fight, the flight, the freeze, and of course the fawn. Now, the danger ends. So the trauma has been long gone for many years, but the pattern itself really isn't gone. And it keeps coming back because guess what? It's a pattern. So your danger is gone, but the pattern just continues. So what happens is your body just keeps running emergency ideas long after the emergency is completely over. It's not a choice. It's not a choice at all. It has seemingly become part of the nervous system in the way that it's actually wired. Now, when I say seemingly, because we actually start to believe that it's not a choice, but it's really embedded in the nervous system pretty tightly. And we just have to create new patterns. That's what we need to do. It's about creating new patterns. And how do we do that? Well, that's what we're going to unpack. So the major idea is that your nervous system really has learned most of what has happened. So it keeps running those emergency ideas and patterns, and your nervous system has adopted that. It has learned it. And you might even believe that you can't ever get rid of it. You might fall into that argument of limitation because you feel it's so wired so heavily. So your system really learned this response, and it learned it in that emergency mode, if you will, that you've been experiencing for years. So now it just repeats that response over and over and over again, whether there's no danger or not. And if there's anything that suddenly triggers a memory in your mind, then suddenly that memory is attached to the nervous system, and then boom, something happens. You start sweating, hands are shaking, whatever the case. So we have to understand it's trained. It doesn't limit you. It can be broken as a barrier, and the somatic work can actually retrain it. That's what I want you to walk away with. So we are learning somatic breathing, and what somatic work does is the awareness of the body patterns. So you get that one feeling in your body. It can be the pit of your stomach, the tightness in your chest, your jaw, shallow breathing, or maybe even some numb parts of the limbs. That can happen. You start noticing where your body is actually holding on to those patterns. And that is a starting point. So you can't change what you feel. I get it. But when we start to get into somatic breath work, it really does help get deep into what's going on and work with it. Now, that being said, we have to be able to recognize the pattern, slow it down, and interrupt the automatic pattern that's been going on. So we have to notice when it actually happens. That takes a little journaling. You can do journaling at the time of the day. You could call it nervous system journaling, where you journal when your nervous system starts kicking off and when it starts feeling. And you start going into that feeling moment where it's all activated. Your nervous system starts kicking off. You're going to stay with it. We're not going to get rid of it. We're not going to kick it out of our life. We're not going to avoid it. We're not going to push it away. Everybody likes to push it away, and we have to literally work through it. We have to stay with it and work through it long enough instead of just reacting again and again. So we have to interrupt the pattern. The only way to change the pattern is to interrupt the pattern. That's, if there's one key truth I can give you, the way to change the pattern is to interrupt the pattern. But we interrupt the pattern how? By developing the awareness of where it's kicking off, where it's happening. So you interrupt the pattern, you interrupt the cycle before it actually runs again. So we have reactions that complete. So when you do breath work, you do somatic breath work, there's a completion to that. You are finishing what got interrupted. So during the actual trauma, your body started a response that it could not actually finish. It could not actually complete. And somatic breath work and somatic work lets it finish. So there's shaking. The shaking allows you to discharge that. So after doing a close connected breathing session, you could feel a massive discharge of energy, and there's all this shaking that just exits. your nervous system finally just kicks out stuff. I mean, if you take a good hard look at the animal kingdom, if you've ever seen a gazelle get chased by a lion, you'll actually be able to see that when they're in safety, they finally get to safety and they get away from that lion, their body starts shaking and the nervous systems start discharging. Now, outside of that, the breath is important. We have to be able to breathe very deeply, the close connected breathing, and we expand. What this does is it expands your capacity to move further into the process. You're going to cry. Yes, there's going to be, complete grief, sadness. It comes to the surface, but it goes away. Cries are meant to be cathartic. They're meant to be the kind of thing where you get it out of your body. It's important. And then finally, moving, do a little bit of a physical movement, physical exercise. You push the energy actually through. So I want you to understand is that the somatic work lets you finish it, because in the trauma, your body tried to, but it never got complete, never got done. So when we look at it, we are retraining our nervous system for safety, once again, to be safe, to feel safe, to understand in the brain that you are safe, right? And when our nervous system is kicking off, we don't want to confuse that with danger. And that's what happens is like we relive the past, and it's almost like we reliving the whole entire experience all over again. But your system learns through experience. It doesn't learn not necessarily through logic. Logic is post. It's post because you're in your body, you're in your nervous system. It's post. You need to have that second logical part to help you reprocess the whole entire thing. And that's so the whole entire nervous system going back to normal can feel safe. Like when your nervous system kicks off and activates, you can now go back and feel safe about it. So your nervous system goes up, it comes back down, and you do that repeatedly. And then your body starts to understand and trust that you're safe. It's okay. You're all right. And that's what happens. So what actually changes over time, there is long-term, good, solid change that comes out of this, is that if you're a person that's hyper-vigilant, they're always worried, always like, what's going on? What's that? What's happening? You might take someone that, let's say, has PTSD, and maybe they were in a fire at one point in their life, and if they see smoke, they start to have their nervous system really kick off, and this hypervigilance actually overcomes them. And that's where like the entire nervous system just wants to completely kick off and maybe even shut down. There's a lot of reactivity that goes on. So that being said, this increases your resilience and your stabilization. It allows you to emotionally regulate yourself. So it widens that big, wide space of tolerance. You become more tolerant. Your nervous system will become more tolerant. You also are in your body. You're not in your head. And that's why I want a lot of people, is a lot of the traumas are inside the body, and people are in their minds. They're in their thinking. They could be in the overthinking mode, right? The brain has a connection to the body. Let's understand that. But I want you to understand if somatic work is going through the body to get to the mind, to unplug all of that in the nervous system. Think of it that way. Now, what reprocessing means is it's the same memory, but a safer body. The same memory, new story. Same memory, everything has come up, but your meaning, the meaning changes. You are a meaning-making machine. You can have the same memory, but now there's a new meaning with it. So now that promotes healing, because you no longer look at it the way you did before. So the old pattern is there. The memory kicks off totally. The body starts panicking like crazy, and then you feel completely overwhelmed. But that's the old pattern. And we would look at the way it reprocesses, is that the memory actually surfaces, the body stays chilled out, nice and regulated, but then your memory starts to update. And that's why I truly, wholeheartedly believe that when you are done with a session, if you are finished with your somatic session, there should be some form of journaling. Some form of journaling needs to go. That's important because it's going to help your memory and your brain update or re-update what has happened. So this way you can finally just nip it in the butt, say goodbye to it forever, and not be concerned with it. So you experience that old stuff that's going on while your body is holding an entirely different emotional state. And your nervous system totally starts changing and rewriting the history of it. Okay, very important. If we look at nervous system can connect to handwriting. Like if a person's hands shake, handwriting will be. The more pressure a person puts on the paper can show how their nervous system. The more lighter they are, totally different system, right? So our nerves, it's not about the writing, by the way, it's about the nervous system being reflected writing or reflected in what we do, reflected in how we shake somebody's hands. So that's where we can understand the nervous system goes deeper. The nervous system is connected to the brain. It's obvious. We all know that. So what the release, this whole emotional release, or this trauma release that goes on, is the good news is you start to relax, your body relax, all the tension melts away, and absolutely the cycle is complete at that point. So the release isn't a big dramatic or a mystical thing, although there's people out there that will pass it off as mystical, but it is your body that's finishing that stress cycle. So you get the shaking, the crying, a deep sigh, and then a cry, warmth across the body that's spreading. You might even get yawning. Yawning in certain circles have been recognized as like a cathartic release, like a subconscious really cathartic. But so what it does do versus what it doesn't do, I'm going to be so clear about this. What it does is it helps you get out of those survival responses and literally reduce those. Okay, that's the first thing. It is going to improve your nervous system and the way that you as a person regulate your nervous system. Your awareness of your body and what you're feeling in your body will actually increase. And the good news is you're not as reactive. Your body starts to chill out. So that lower reactivity over time creeps in. What it doesn't do is it doesn't delete your memories. Because memories, first of all, are not complete. They're not video files that sit on a computer. Your brain might delete certain parts of the experiences, and this happens in PTSD quite often. It does work, and it doesn't always work instantly. You might have to do more than one session with it. It doesn't happen in one session. I've seen it happen in one session. I've seen like 5 people get 5 results. It is pretty high, I will say that. But at the same token, some people might need more than one session. So you don't want to silver bullet it. You don't want to think it's a silver bullet. You do want to believe that it is a practice. You do want to understand that it is a practice, and it is indeed. So it doesn't guarantee catharsis, because catharsis will just come out when it wants to. It doesn't have a mind of its own. And it doesn't replace other modalities. It can be used as a tool to work with those other things. So the bottom line to this episode, to shed light, is it lets your body feel totally safe again and complete those old survival patterns that you've had, those old responses. So your nervous system doesn't flip-flop and just keep repeating what's been happening, because your nervous system will take these old patterns and just keep repeating them. So it's you're not thinking your way out. I'm going to make this so clear. You are not thinking your way out. You are actually feeling your way through, and you are going through your body to reach the brain. You're going through your body and through your nervous system. If you look at the spine, all of the nervous system goes up the spine, but it goes right smack into the brainstem, right? And we're designed automatically, if your fingers touch a hot stove, there's like a reaction, a survival reaction, right? Pain signal goes down. So that's what I want you to understand, is that you're not using it in place. You are going through the body, through the nervous system, then into the mind. And you're pulling it out that way. So that's all I'm going to say. Don't forget to click on the Podbean link below. If you have any questions about it, you can reach out to me. Take care. Have a good one.